Hello and welcome to Affinity. We're going to do a simple improvement of this image here. And the first thing is a raw image here. I'm outputting as a raw layer here linked, so this is going to save me file space. And first thing is to look for any overdone. So I click out over these things here. You can see effectively I'm burnt out here in the sky because it's just because I exposed for the foreground here and it was just a white cloudy day. So I'm going to go to the shadows and highlights here and just turn down the highlights until those indicator things are disappearing. Look up here so that I make sure I've got this fully into the histogram that had fallen off the edge before. So I'm now going to go to develop. Now then, what I'm also going to get here, if I zoom into this, because I know this is going to happen because the lens I was using is fairly wide angle, is at the extremes. So here I've got a lot of this chromatic aberration going on here. I could go here to filters, colors and chromatic aberration, but it sometimes works, but I often find it's not so great. So I typically use the defringe. However, what happens with this, in order to do this, this is a destructive move. So therefore, this has been converted into a pixel layer. So now it's going to be a bigger file if I save it. But typically what I would do here is I'm going to click on the area I want to affect, and I'll just drag down the edge brightness threshold, and it'll eventually go into a monochrome. But I'm going to take that off here. And I can do a Control Z to undo it. So it does go back then to a raw image, and do use another method. And what that is simply to use adjustments and HSL. And now what I'm going to do is go to one of the palettes here. I'll click on that one, so I'm going to select a limited range, use the picker, and then click on here somewhere to get the color. And that puts it actually more into a violet, which is between a blue and a magenta. And I can play around with these here. In fact, what I'll do first of all is actually just turn the saturation down so you can see the area, or you can even turn it up. So that's a very good way of seeing the area, and then see whether it's adjusting the shoulders here or the whole thing, whether that's going to make a difference to that. So you kind of want the minimum you need for that. But then we'll turn the saturation down here. If you go all the way, you can kind of see the effects. You look at this area up here. If I bring that down too far, so I'm actually going to go only kind of so far with it. Looking at some of the colours here, still a bit of purple in this. What if I move this around? Maybe a little bit more that way. Give a little bit more scope on that. But it's reduced a lot, and that I think that's okay there. Bring this down a little bit more. There we go, that'll do. Right, so now then, what's also happened now, if I go all the way out again, is any other purple areas have also been turned down. So ones like this here, so if I turn the HSL on and off, you can see these are being affected. So all I need to do is mask that in, use the built-in mask. So I'm going to go to a paintbrush tool here, and the opacity is 100, hardness about halfway, that's fine. And then a black brush here to say do not apply this HSL adjustment. So I can just paint over this here, and this then has taken it out of areas where it is not important. So that's brought back that purple there. Next thing is we're going to select the sky and replace it. So I'm going to go up here to the selection brush and make sure I've got snap to edges and all layers here, because we need to go all the way down through here, and soft edges. And then if I just start clicking here, in fact one click has selected most of it. So I'm just going to take that for now, and now I'm going to use a refine to tidy it all up. Then with the refine, make the brush a bit bigger, and then kind of brush the areas which need to be rethought Do it a bit at a time. There we go, that's a lot better, isn't it? Then just go along the edge of this. And then this trees here, this needs a lot more thinking of, doesn't it? Yeah, that's worked. And go down to the ones over here. And there's a bit down there, wasn't there? And a bit in there. There you go, that'll do. Now we're going to apply this. I'm not just going to go to selection, I'm actually going to output to a mask. That's going to be a bit more useful. So I apply that, and now we've got the mask here. Drag the mask down to the bottom so it's out the way, but I can always bring it back. And I can change the name of things like that if I want by saying sky. And we'll now put in, up here, I'm going to put in a, don't need that, a layer and new fill layer above. And I'm going to mask that into here, so drag the mask on top of it, so now it's just up there. And now I'm going to put a gradient in. So I can start from here actually, it says type, and make that a linear gradient there. And I then drag from here downwards, so put the horizon sort of like down about here. Then that bottom one I'm just going to make white, and click on the top one, and this is where you put the sky colour in. The easiest way to do this is you turn the red all the way down and then use the green, so the blue's all the way up, and the green then changes the sky colour. So you find approximately the right one colour you want, something like this, but this is too strong for this, it looks fake, so you need to lighten it up again. So to do that I can just drag these up here, and the bottom one in particular will determine how light it is. So there I can play again with this, what kind of colour do I want, and that's a bit more realistic in terms of the sky colour for this picture. I can always change that again later. So what can I do next? It's looking a little bit kind of flat, so I'm going to add some more contrast to this. So I'm going to do a bit of a dodge and burn layer. So add a pixel layer above here, set the blend mode to soft light, then get a paintbrush, reduce the size of this, and I want it to be black and white here, but the other one is that gradient in there. So if I hit D, then it's now black and white here. And if I hit the X key, it switches between them, so I can easily switch between black and white. Still rather a lot here, so I'm going to turn the opacity all the way down to 20%, which I could get to straight away with the shortcut key of number 2. So this just paints a bit of light onto things. So I'm just going to paint this down here. A way of doing this is to paint lightness above and darkness below, because you can see that's already light there. So I can paint a bit of light onto things. I can put some into the roof up there, and then switch down here or hit the X key and make this a bit bigger here, so I can make this kind of darker here. And because it's 20%, each time you paint it, it will add more darkness. I can add a bit more on that tree there, just leave the top a bit, and that over here, maybe some into here as well, just to deepen that, so you're getting that kind of effect, so you've got more contrast. And then we're going to add some curves, so an adjustment and put in some curves above that. And now what we'll do is we'll just do a straight bit of curve. First of all, I'll just lighten this up a little bit and bring this down a little bit, so there's overall global contrast increase just a tad. But then I'm going to use this to do some colour enhancement as well. So I'm going to go to red, and to warm up this a bit, I just pull the red up. So you can see there it's already coming up a bit. So find that, rather than look at the curve, by the way, with this, look at the picture and see what looks okay. And then, because I want to make it warmer, it's more orange, so that's red and yellow. And so I go to the blue and pull the blue down. So I can pull this down here a bit. So there you've got the colour much improved from there to there. brighter leaves are often nicer if you've got a bit of yellow in them. You enhance it. The spring colours have yellow in them. So overall, that's it. That's very quick. We can also add things like sharpening and so on, but this is mostly about that kind of other enhancement. So I can take there down to here. This is the before and this is after. So that was kind of fun. Thanks very much for watching.